Thomas's here on the East Bay. When they told us there was an earthquake, we didn't believe it. And you should have understood what was going to happen, because when I was out here in 1969, 70, 71, 72, Dick Gregory was talking about what was going to happen. And see, you all got a problem with all these floods? I don't know whether I should even say anything. Because they had said that there's going to be some calamities that's going to cut California off from the rest of North America, and it's going to float out into the Atlantic. We still got some room back down there in South Carolina, Georgia, and whatnot. You all can come on back there. At any rate, in that magazine that I mentioned, The Fraying of America, in the magazine that was put together by Arthur Schlesinger to attack us, the disuniting of America, Reflections on a Multicultural Society. When we get into our cultural truth, we disunite peoples. Our struggles has united America. Our struggles have broadened the American dream. Our struggles have opened the way from all of the people around the world. Our struggles has allowed America's white racism to make an adjustment in order to survive. We have not disunited America. We have been that which has pulled America together. When King and our people were marching in the streets, it might have seemed like it was disuniting America, but it gave courage to the women's movement. It gave courage to the gay movement. It gave courage to other immigrants. It gave courage to the poor that were languishing, poor whites languishing on the sides of hills in Kentucky, Tennessee, and West Virginia. Our struggle gave strength to those people to stand up and be heard in a tradition that's supposed to be America. So we're not about disuniting America, but we are about uniting the African world. And that is a sacred mission. That's not something that's just happenstance. Uniting the African world is a sacred mission. And look at those attacking us, how unscrupulous they are. Arthur Schlesinger. This was the volume that was supposed to destroy the curriculum of inclusion vote. He printed this in June to affect the Board of Regents vote in July 91. It's supposed to be a scholarly work, but it's interesting that between every page, they got an advertisement, every chapter. I've never seen anything like this in a so-called scholarly work. But this was paid for by the conservatives that are in these organizations such as Federal Express and the Widow Foundation, etc. In the margin, he's got all of our great scholars. There's Dr. Malana Karanga. There is there is Asa Hilliard. He even has Diane Ravitch in the margin. He has his own daddy in the margin. He's got Dr. Clark and Du Bois in the margin. But the only person who's got half a page is Leonard Jeffries. Now this was clear to us when this came out, that they were targeting myself for death and destruction. You have to understand what this means. They say this is the evil one. This is the point man. This is the one that if we knock off, it'll scare all the others. But they have an awakening coming to them. They have an awakening coming to them. All around this land, black folks have rallied to such an extent that their computers have been thrown off. They don't know if they touch Len Jeffries, what will the results be? But I'll tell you this. As long as we have a breath, we'll be speaking the African truth. And when we lose our breath, by whatever means necessary, the struggle will be enhanced as more and more of our people understand what's happening. So in the article on the disuniting of America, they have a trouble dealing with Kemet. In the article on the fraying of America, they have trouble dealing with Kemet. And here he is himself, the head man in charge, the czar of education, Albert Shanker, in an article that has gone out to all of the tens of thousands of teachers in the nation, in the American Teachers magazine and in others, author Albert Shanker says, multiculturalism don't sacrifice accuracy. But in this article, he acknowledges our victory. And listen to this. He acknowledges that in the midst of this important change that's taking place in the school classes, we have to have contributions of the many different groups. However, some groups, including the New York State Board of Regents, which just accepted guidelines for a new social studies curriculum, may end up sacrificing accuracy for diversity. Now, isn't this interesting? American education has been built around lies, white nationalism, rich white men with property and power. We don't want to hear about no George Washington, no cherry tree. I'm tired of hearing that. Let me know about George Washington and the enslaved Africans he had and why he had them. Let me know that he was a slave owner, slave master before he became head of the army, before he became president of the United States. And when he left those jobs, he went right back to being a slave owner and a slave master and didn't have the courage to free any of his enslaved Africans. We want to know the truth. We want to know accuracy. Albert Shanker is not calling for that. But however, he goes on to attack us. They seem to think that in order to give kids points of view, it's perfectly okay to teach ideas and thoughts that few or no responsible scholars accept. The Regent's proposal calls for using non-canonical knowledge and techniques and non-dominant knowledge sources. Well, see, that's what they said, the Regents. I would just say white supremacy. You see, that's why they got mad at me, because I said, let's use the truth and let's put white supremacy to rest. You can see some good examples of what's wrong with the idea of in the Portland baseline essays. Here's the attack on Dr. Clark. Dr. Clark was a key figure in doing the history Portland baseline essays. They've attacked our brother Hunter Adams. He did the science essays. The African American baseline essays. This mini curriculum made up of essays on social studies, science, languages, and the arts, mathematics, and music has been adopted by school systems all over the country and used by schools and many others. This is what they're afraid of. They know that this stuff has trickled down all over the country, and our people are looking for this type of material. The Portland essays present ancient Egypt as an African culture. Hang on. We want analysis now. That strongly influenced the development of European civilization. Let me repeat it. The Portland essays present ancient Egypt as an African culture that strongly influenced the development of European civilization. And this is fair enough. Albert Shanker. You see the power of the African truth? Albert Shanker. It's a view that most reputable scholars have agreed with for 40 years. I mean, how could he write that? It's a game that these people are playing. And when we raise the question that we're anti, it's a view most reputable scholars have agreed with for 40 years. Dr. Shekanta Diop is turning over in his grave. Or up there in the ancestral realm. Diop says it took me 40 years struggling with these European scholars to let them know the significance of African civilization in the Nile. I had to write 3 doctoral dissertations. I had to get an array of scholars to finally let me pass before this was accepted. And Dr. Ben has been standing in the Nile by himself for 50 years until we decided to join him en masse in the 1980s. And ever since then, the world has been quaking because African peoples went to that Nile Valley and we found the key to our liberation. And we've been organizing around it. Now look what he goes on to say. And it corrects distortions of previous historians who were inclined to ignore Egypt's contribution or to disregard the fact that Egypt was an African civilization.